How you doing? This is Chris again with Chris's Comments. Show about common sense on common ground, no matter what the subject. And this subject today, Tuesday, I think, April 21st, 2021, we've got American justice descends into mob rule. What? Well, that's what the rhetoric is going to be about now that Officer Chauvin is now indicted. He's been found guilty on all 3 counts of murder. And a lot of the right-wing rhetoric is now going to be thrown out there. That Floyd's death that sparked the Black Lives Matter riots. First, Floyd's death did not spark that. Floyd's death sparked the Black Lives Matter peaceful protests. The riots were always a couple of blocks over where the police didn't do a damn thing. They were quick to kill this guy, George Floyd, but didn't do jack shit to stop the rioters and the property damage and the stores from looting and all this stuff. They were quick to tear gas all the protesters that wanted justice for Floyd's death. They didn't do jack shit to the people down who were busting into other people's houses and just destroying property all around. Okay, a few blocks over to top it all off. In every major city, this is what took place. So that being said, there's going to be a bunch of crying and complaining and a bunch of just spewed garbage out there saying that this was not justice. Justice has not been done. Justice is supposed to be blind. It's supposed to be blind to everything but the evidence. Okay? It's not supposed to be so blind to the jurors and stuff. There's the ability to be blind to the protesters, or failure to be blind to the protesters. There's going to be a bunch of talk about, particularly, sticking with the Floyd case. The Minnesota Star Tribune is going to be accused constantly of giving away detailed information about the jurors, so that way the BLM and any other, Antifa or whatever anti-cop people, they were terrorizing the jurors, which is not true. You're going to hear a lot of them saying that details of these jurors were given out through the Minnesota Star Tribune, through the media, short of their names and addresses. And they were attacked and stuff by mobs. And that mob mentality is what made jurors decide Officer Chauvin should be found guilty. Now, already there's a picture of a door with blood splattered all over the door. And this is true. This actually happened. Somebody threw a couple of pig heads at a door, but it wasn't to any juror. It was actually thrown at a cop's house. A cop that tried to defend Chauvin as a pretty nice guy in the court of law. He wound up getting these pig heads thrown at his house. Those weren't jurors, okay? So let's just make that clear right now. There is, the attacks and all this other garbage. Okay? Kamala Harris raised money to the protesters. Bail. The ones that got arrested, thrown in jail. Now, I don't know if that's true or not. I'll believe the reports of the news over anybody that claims to be anti-media. The media is the enemy, but then use the media and reports to back up their claims. That's, you people sit down, go away. There's the door. Get rid of it before the pig blood gets thrown on that door. Make use of it. And this is not keeping justice blind to everything. You know, the Kamala Harris bailing out protesters to keep the mob mentality going on. Okay, let's say this is all true, that she bailed them out. To think that justice would actually cave in to the mob mentality is a pretty dumb idea, given the fact that we've already had justice not bowing down to the mob mentality when they wanted to kidnap a governor in Michigan, or a mayor, or whatever the title was. You know, justice didn't cave in to the mob mentality even when the rioters hit the Capitol Hill. They were understaffed, undermanned, and as a result, a couple of them got killed. That's not bowing down to mob mentality, losing your life fighting in a riot, fighting a bunch of rioters. That's not catering in. So whether physically or by judiciary standards, justice here in America, and I noticed that this came out from right-wing rhetoric all the way as far as Australia. Some guy that sits there going, "Oh, I don't understand American legal standards and how they're caving into this mob mentality. We don't know if he's innocent or not. We don't know if he is. We just know that they were forced to give in to the mob mentality and put Chauvin in jail." First off, F you and everything that you say about that, especially those of you who are outside this country. Our judiciary system doesn't cater in that way. There are people that can be bribed. There are people that can be bought. But none of them have ever been bowed down to the mob mentality. That's just bullcrap right there. You know, especially those of you who don't understand this. The judge didn't bow down to any of that. He didn't bow down to the whites that wanted Chauvin freed. He didn't bow down to the blacks that had as far up the chain as Maxine Waters saying we have to get more confrontational. Okay? The only thing he said was to the white lawyers that said, "Hey, Chauvin's innocent. We should have this case dismissed." The judge said, "No, we're not giving this thing dismissed. But you have now something that you can use for an appeal. Good luck with that." That's what the judge said. That's what the judge declared. So all of you out there that are saying this American judiciary system and the judge, all the way down to the judge in that particular court, is soft, to hell with you. You don't say, you just keep saying that over there in your country. They'll be bringing that crap out over here. To hell with you. He didn't bow down to Maxine Waters any more than any would have bowed down to any other people. No more than any judge bowed down to the mob that actually wanted to kidnap a freaking governor. Excuse me. Nobody bows down to mobs down here. Nobody. So you can kiss my ass with that. But back to Floyd. Floyd was already had fentanyl in the system, and he was already claiming, "I can't breathe." Okay? Yeah, there was some video footage of that too, where he was trying to yank out George Floyd out of his vehicle. And he's saying he was trying to tell him that he's got problems breathing and all this stuff. That's true. But it still doesn't excuse him for putting him down, taking advantage of that, putting him down, and then putting a knee on his neck. There's no excuse for that. He had every shot in the world to take care of this thing. He could have taken advantage of this guy's lack of breathing by handcuffing him, putting him in a squad car, and then getting some kind of, a brown paper bag, if you had to use as a respirator for him to control his breathing or regain it by forcing his lungs to breathe at a reasonable pace. That's what you're supposed to do. This is a guy with only a GED as the only proof of a valid education. I mean, I've got certificates to operate, forklifts and bulldozers and stuff through previous jobs. I have the CPR certification. I've got certifications that lead to some kind of education to work with in my life throughout the construction and the IT career that I used to tackle, and the electrical, and the affiliations of all three. Okay, I've got certifications, but on a technical level, I only have a GED as the only valid proof of an education, and even I know this. So a cop is supposed to know this. A cop is supposed to know that if a guy can't breathe, you don't make the situation worse to the point of killing him. A cop is supposed to know that. If an ordinary citizen, a rideshare driver, knows this, full well a cop is supposed to know it. So it's irrelevant the fact that he already had fentanyl in his system. It's irrelevant the fact that he's still wild, that he had to actually be tackled down. It's irrelevant of the fact that he couldn't even breathe before the knee, before the tackling down, back when he had a huge load of fentanyl in his system. It's irrelevant. All of that is irrelevant. What came down to this, to make this judiciary decision of him being found guilty, was his own will. It was his own choice. He made it. And out of all the cops that got away with killing people, this one didn't. This one didn't. And it wasn't done by mob mentality. It was done through the courts of law. Plain and simple. And that's the reason why there's a whole crap load of smiles today. That's the reason why there's a whole crap load of sighs of relief. Dude, justice finally prevailed. It prevailed for all Americans. It prevailed, and we can breathe a little. There's a glint of hope for tomorrow. And this is just one out of a total of 4 so far. A 13-year-old got killed. A young father got killed. And just recently, a 16-year-old got killed. Now that one is going to be a challenge to see as to whether or not the cop is guilty or not. Because the video literally shows the knife in the 16-year-old's hand. It literally shows the other hand pushing down her attempted victim, the person that she's going to try to victimize. And it clearly shows her hand, with her knife hand, back at a distance, far away enough to where once she's ready to thrust or stab or swing up or just simply jab, she had that knife hand in position for wherever she wanted to go with it, for whichever direction she wanted that blade to go. Okay? That's what I saw in the little bit of the video that took place. That might excuse this particular cop. That particular cop. But as far as Chauvin goes, no. He had no excuse. There was no reason for him to do all of that crap. He had every advantage to control the situation, and he chose to go an alternate route that led to the person's death, his captive's death. Plain and simple. Plain and simple. So as far as this whole rhetoric that you're going to be hearing about the mob mentality now dictating what justice is. Yeah, well, tell that to the killer, tell that to the Trayvon Martin family a few years back before this BLM started. It was a few years back, and there was a huge mob, there was a huge protest outside the Capitol, and guess what happened? Zimmerman was declared not guilty. And nobody wound up killing anybody. Nobody wound up even killing Zimmerman, the one who actually caused that crap. But there it was. And here it is now. Were there angry and upset people? Yeah. Are there punks among them all people? Of course. Of course, I think the one in Missouri, the one in Missouri where the man got shot and everybody rioted and they were smiling for the cameras as they walked out of the appliance store with the TV. I mean, yeah, there's a couple of punks that will take advantage of it. There's no denying of that. All of 2020 was proof of that. But justice has finally been served. And it wasn't done by mob mentality. It wasn't done through mob justice. Not by a long shot. Not by a long shot. So that's my spiel about that today. The accusations from all around the world, to hell with you. The accusations of all the people that are trying to push propaganda into making us believe that America is going down the toilet because we're breaking the old way of living. That, yeah, cops will back each other up. That thin blue line is still there. But justice is now finally handling those occasional punks that are taking total advantage of the thin blue line. Justice is finally coming out. This is one. And it's a long way to go before society as a whole can see that justice will be prevailing. Justice will be the prevalent every time there's a cop that goes bad. So far, still nobody's doing any coverage of the cop that saved everybody's life at the airport here in San Antonio. Not even our own San Antonio media. See how bullcrap that is? You guys are trying to talk like that there's no justice if you arrest a cop, and none of you out there show any appreciation for the police, but we who back the blue do. Bull crap. You have not done one thing for the cop that's over there. I can't even remember his damn name. You have not done one thing for that one cop that saved everybody's life at the airport. So who are you to talk? You're wrong. You are wrong. Plain and simple. Plain and simple. Justice prevailed on this one, and I'm hoping that it prevails again for the next few. Okay? Now, what have I done for that cop in San Antonio? Not a damn thing. I'm just as guilty. But here is the thing. As soon as I can find him, yeah, I'd like to fist bump, not shake his hand because there's COVID, but I'd like to fist bump him, or at least just give him the thumbs up and thank him for what he did. And as far as everything else goes, everybody out there is choosing a side. Nobody's really doing the common sense on common ground thing, taking it for what it is. Justice prevailed. Charging somebody who is supposed to uphold the law to bring justice, who didn't do that. He broke the law. Justice was not served. Justice now has prevailed, with this guy being found guilty of all 3 counts. And even still, we got a ways to go, because there's a reported amount of cops being forgiven, getting pardoned, and getting rehired. Okay? There's quite a few numbers. And there's one cop that got falsely accused, and she later on got hired, but it was 9 years later. Other cops, they've been gone for only like a quarter of a year, and they're back on the street. And it's not all cops that are like that, but those are the two extreme cases. Okay? As far as cops being fired, suspended, detained, currently on hold. All been fired or detained or suspended. None have been arrested. Some have, but have been pardoned. Out of all these cops, this is one where we can actually say the cop was a murderer. He's been fired. He's been arrested. He's been tried. He's been found guilty. All the evidence points to it. And to top it all off, with the upcoming evidence from the people that said, no, it was drugs. No, it was this. No, it was that. We found out this new thing about George Floyd. We found out this new thing about the situation. We found out this new thing about the crime in that area. We found out this and we found out that. And that's fantastic, because it still comes down to that one aspect that it doesn't excuse the cop from killing Floyd. It doesn't excuse him for his actions that he took that wound up costing this guy's life. So he's been found guilty. Now you see the breath of fresh air that we're breathing. And even still, we all know that it's for a short period of time, maybe. We all know that it's possibly all for nothing all over again. Because he might get pardoned by the next governor or the next president. He might get a pardon or release by the current ones. There was a thing where Maxine Waters said, we've got to keep being more confrontational. Chauvin's lawyers is going to use that. And it could take a year and a half. I'm not going to say one whole year because, we all know how slow the judiciary system moves. But it could take about a year and a half. And that lawyer will have a case to plead. He'll have a leg to stand on. He'll say, look, this person was trying to incite mob violence, mob justice. And the next judge that handles it, he'll say, I see what you mean. He's released on his own reconnaissance. Oh God. It can, but see, here's the thing. It can happen. And more than likely it will happen. But bear in mind, I'm still going off of the more than likely he'll be found innocent, which it's now not the case. Because let's just be honest. There was a side of us that said, nothing's going to happen. Nothing's going to happen to Chauvin. This is still going to be another grave injustice. We all thought it. So how far off am I into thinking that he's going to be forgiven and pardoned, next year, 2023? If that soon, might even be sooner. Who knows? A year and a half from this time is the latter half of 2022. But who knows? It might actually take until January 2023, February of 2023. He might be in there as of now, April 2021 till April of 2023. 2 years might be the only time that he ever sees. And again, that's just hoping that much based off the fact that we might still get hosed at the end of it all. Who knows? That part is a mystery right now. What isn't is the accusations of American mob justice. That's a bunch of BS, and everybody should be everybody should be ashamed of themselves for saying it, and everybody who says it should be shunned and shut up and countered with facts that none of it took place for this trial. None of it. All the way down to the judge who declared that it wasn't going to happen. Regardless of what Maxine Waters said. Regardless of Kamala Harris bailing out people. They got arrested, assuming that that's true. Regardless of the millions of dollars of fundraising for the protesters to keep protesting. None of them weighed in. None of them had a factor into this. This was justice that finally prevailed. Plain and simple. So, y'all take care. Y'all take it easy. That's the show today. The comment. There was another thing that I wanted to talk about, but that's going to be a whole different subject at a whole different time. Right now, I'm getting close to the end of my lunch break, so I'm going to go head on back out and get back to work. Y'all take care. Y'all take it easy. This is Chris with Chris's Comments, signing out. Y'all take care.